Let's hit the field.
It is Friday, June 6th, and the Yankees were taking on the Red Sox in Game 1 of a weekend 3-game series. Will Warren on the mound looking to bounce back after a tough outing his last time out, and the Yankees trying to win 2 straight. My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is Pinstripe Territory.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
All right. I feel like you're seated up a little bit higher than me, Terrence. I don't know if I like that. Got to get some lifts like Tom Cruise. As John McClane would say, yippee-ki-yay. I love when the Yankees bat around in the first inning, which we had tonight. What a way to kick off the weekend, TK. Big 9-6 victory over the Red Sox.
Always feels good when you kick some ass against Boston. First time seeing them this year. Feels late. June 6th, first time you've seen the Red Sox this season. But nonetheless, get it started. And felt especially good to hit around with Walker Buehler on the mound, man. I got a little bitter taste in my mouth from that. So,
yeah, good old-fashioned, passionate ass-whooping for Walker Buehler. I want to look up his line tonight because it was not good. Yankees were all over him, basically. He went 2 innings, gave up 7 hits, 7 runs, 5 of them earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 2 home runs, 1 to Jazz and 1 to Volpe. His ERA right now is 5.18. So not a good night for him. But look, it's always good to kind of put up a big game against a team in the first game of a series because then you kind of wear out their bullpen a little bit. And now we got 2 games left in this series. Now the Red Sox are throwing Garrett Crochet tomorrow, and you figure he's going to eat some innings and probably pitch pretty well. So this might be one of those series that comes down to the rubber game. But right now, the Yankees did a pretty good job making the Red Sox work in Game 1. They had to use 4 pitchers to throw 8 innings. So, all right, let's get to the recap here and go through what we saw tonight.
All right, let's go. Let's get it going.
Key takeaways. So obviously a very good first inning for the Yankees. Double for Judge. We had the 2-out, 3-run home run from Jazz Chisholm to straightaway center field. He had another RBI later in the game. He had a stolen base in the second inning. I think he had a couple of steals tonight. He also got thrown out going to third. He could have had 3, but he kind of came off the bag. He has been absolutely on fire since coming back. He was hitting 181 when he went on the injured list, and right now he is up to 223. So he's already raised his average like 40 points, 797 OPS. He's hitting more home runs, but he's gotten away from the torpedo bat, TK. What do you make of that?
yeah, I think just something kind of different. I think with the torpedo bat, just from the very beginning, I don't know if it actually works. I don't know if there's actual physics to it, but I think that a big proponent of it was probably like a mental thing where guys are up there with a torpedo bat and then they may have felt like they had a little bit of an edge, or maybe it doesn't hurt as much when you get jammed. Like you don't feel that ringing in your hands as much. But I think with Jazz, he had mentioned something where he went down for his minor league rehab assignment and he was in Double-A, and he said that it like really reminded him of the grind of the game and like how guys work so hard to get all the way there. And he had a bit more of an appreciation for that and had a little bit more perspective maybe. And I think that also when he came back up, he kind of went, all right, let me go back to what was working for most of my career, went back to the original bat, and he's looked great, man. I think he's kind of rejuvenated. He's more the player that I think was advertised for when the Yankees first acquired him last season and when he was in Miami. And if this is what he can be, a guy who's just focusing on getting basic, because he's got power. And, you know, some guys are going to hang a curveball and make a mistake and he'll put it in the seats. But, you know, you don't need 30 home runs from Jazz. He'll probably hit 20 in his sleep, but just go gap to gap. He's got great speed. He's a cool guy, I think, to have in the clubhouse. And I think he's a bit of an irritant for other teams as well, which is a good quality to have.
We're going to dive more into Jazz later on in the show as Terrence kind of eats up my third act here in the first act. To borrow an acting parlance here. So we'll get more into Jazz later on. But Volpe also homered in the first inning. He's still using the torpedo bat, 2-run opposite field shot. He got hit in the elbow by a pitch in the bottom of the third inning, and they took him out. I haven't heard whether it's if they've had the X-rays or anything like that, but apparently it's in a tough spot. He doesn't come out of the game very often, so you got to be worried a little bit. But it looks like that spot hurt, even if it's not broken. Goldschmidt hit home run number 7 tonight. Big swing for him. The gold standard, baby. He's been kind of slumping, so hopefully that gets him going, TK. What are your thoughts on Goldschmidt?
Yeah, slumping, but it's still hitting like 320. He's still a professional hitter. Yeah, I don't think he's been as hot as the way he started the year, but he's still really good against lefties. And I guess maybe you could just make the argument that when Stanton is inevitably activated, does that take away some time from Goldschmidt for Rice at first if he continues to slump? But I'm not super concerned about him right now.
Yeah, Rice is another thing we got to talk about. It seems like we talk about it every week. Austin Wells also using the torpedo bat, and someone mentioned it's not doing great for him, but he has heated up over the last couple of weeks. He's raised his average from, he was hovering around 200. He's up to 217 now. He went 2 for 4. He's actually 216. 2 for 4 tonight, so another multi-hit game. But this one started off pretty one-sided with the Yankees having that big 7-0 lead, but the Red Sox, to their credit, chipped away. We had a 2-run home run from Devers, and we had a home run from Marcelo Mayer, his first Major League home run. Congrats to him. But ultimately, it was not enough. We did have Devin Williams come in for the 9th, and I'm sure people across New York were grabbing the Tums, and, the old folks were hooking up their oxygen masks. And I think it's time for you to break out the wind glasses. Yankees take this one.
Yankees win. Yankees win.
I'm telling you right now, people in California were feeling that way too, man. People in California were sucking air down watching Devin Williams trying to close that game out too. So it's not just New York.
So this is I can't wear the fun hat because it doesn't fit over the headphones. I have to explain this every time. So TK, it's your fault, but we did have to make an appearance with it tonight. So TK's rocking the Martian goggles. Those are kind of like the goggles that what's his name wore in Dumb and Dumber. The guy from Dumb and Dumber when he was skiing, he had the big, Anyway, I think the belt pretty much speaks for itself tonight. Jazz Chisholm completely dominated, and he picks up the belt. I was going to let TK announce, but whatever.
It's all good.
All good.
Yeah,
And he's got by far the best belt award picture, I think, because he's rocking the cool glasses, and he's got massive amount of bling there. But, he continues to improve since coming back, and I'm really loving what we're seeing. But we'll talk more about him in a minute. We got to talk about the pitcher for tonight, Will Warren,
Pitcher spotlight.
who, for the second start in a row, did not have a great line, but I thought he pitched better than his line tonight, TK. He was great for the first 5 innings. Obviously, the Red Sox got to him for 3 runs in the 6th. He kind of lost the zone a little bit. He had 4 walks. That is not something he typically does. And his final line, 5 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, 4 walks and 6 strikeouts. Once again, more strikeouts than innings pitched. He continues to do that. He misses bats, although I just counted 6 whiffs tonight. But a 5.34 ERA on the season, 1.41 whip. What are your thoughts on Will Warren tonight?
I mean, yeah, he looked really good the first 5 innings. He just kind of lost the plate. And I think that this is kind of similar to what we were seeing from Clark Schmidt early in his Yankee career, where that third time through the order, he would kind of either lose the zone or things were a little flatter and guys would start to get to him. And I think the difference between a pitcher that's just kind of okay in the show and a guy who's really, really good is going to be that third time through. And if they can navigate the lineup for the third time. So he's a young guy, and I think he's still kind of learning how to do that. It seemed to me like he was maybe nibbling a little bit in that 6th inning. And he wasn't really just kind of trusting his stuff and just like throwing it. And David Cohn made that point too. Like, you don't want to give up runs, obviously, but you got to get outs. And sometimes you just got to throw strikes and let a guy hit it and hope he hits it right at somebody. So encouraging start. Like he's looked honestly better than I would have anticipated this season,
Agreed.
But maybe there's more there. And I'm curious, I guess, to let him keep starting games and seeing if he can kind of keep developing, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I'm optimistic about his stuff because he does continue to strike out hitters, but again, still growing pains. This is all that, stuff that comes with being a young pitcher. So whenever TK is on, well, not every time, but most of the time, we pick a few topics that are relevant in the Yankees universe, and a few of them keep popping back up. So we're going to talk about a few of those next in State of the Yanks.
State of the Yanks.
It's all right there in front of us.
All right, so my thoughts on Jazz. The Jazz that we've seen the last couple of days has been the guy that I want to see more of. He put on a show tonight. He had the power, the speed. When I was in high school, we had this kid named Josh, and he had absolutely massive power. He was hitting 400-foot home runs when nobody else could do it. He would hit 5 or 6 home runs every batting practice, and everybody was like, man, you are going to be such an awesome player. You're going to hit so many home runs. But then he only hit like 2 home runs all season as a freshman, and then I think after that he quit baseball. But, the reason that he didn't hit home runs in the game was because he was trying to. He had natural power when he was just swinging. He had the bat speed. He had the correct kind of launch angle. He would get backspin. He would hit massive home runs. I feel like Jazz is kind of that guy where if he just takes his normal swing and just plays his game, he's got power. He's not going to be a 45 home run guy, but he'll hit you home runs. And the benefit is when he's just getting base hits and hitting line drives like he was tonight, he can disrupt on the bases, like you said earlier. He can be a nuisance. It just makes the game more fun. You see the other team throwing balls away. The other night he steals second, ball gets away, he takes third. I love the guy's bat speed. I love his energy. The guy I don't want him to be is the guy that swings from his shoes and tries to hit the ball like Griffey with that big uppercut every time. Stick to his game, stay up the middle. He's got obviously the power to go deep to center. That's what I want to see from him. Total baseball package.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's been that guy since he's gotten back. I think that the player that he was when the season started versus pre-injury and post-injury, what he is now is a totally different guy. And I think it has a lot to do with the comments of he's just trying to get those base hits. And I think you can see it mechanically. There's a difference in his swing. I don't think there's as big of a hitch in his swing. He still does it like a little bit, but he's a lot quicker to the ball. And he's kind of taking what the pitcher gives him and goes with it. So I've been really happy to see what I've seen from him. And I was interested to know, so they put him at third, and we were talking about this, like we would rather have DJ over at third. I think he can play a very solid third base. I
agree.
I don't think that he plays a very solid third base, especially for a guy who got traded to the Yankees and they were like, hey, by the way, you're going to play third. And he had never done it before. So it just shows what kind of athlete he is. Seems like a team guy. He was fully for it. He's like, I'm wearing number 13 for a reason because A-Rod was over there. And I love what I'm seeing. So maybe that solves the third base issue, and they're looking more at maybe second base if they feel like DJ can't cut it. We can talk about that a little bit later. But that's kind of where I'm at. Maybe third is kind of a solved thing now.
Yeah, I hope so. Now, you mentioned his defense at third base. Do you think that maybe he's playing with a little bit more confidence because he's more comfortable playing third base, right? I mean, you take his attention away from trying to get back into the groove of second base, which is a more active spot, right?
Yeah.
I remember when Drew Henson retired from baseball, one of the reasons that he said he quit was because he hadn't been hit a ball at third base in 3 days. And I was like, that's so funny. I mean, obviously you get more action than that at the big league level, but the third baseman, I think, impacts the game much less than the second baseman defensively. And so you don't really need to be as sharp, rangy and things like that. But, maybe just the move back to third base had him comfortable. And I'm liking what we're seeing, obviously, since he's come back. So tonight we had Devin Williams close it out. The other night he had a save where it was, by the skin of his teeth. And I feel like we're going to have a lot of blood pressure incidents over the next month or 6 weeks. Yeah. But how you feeling about them continuing to give him the ball in the 9th inning?
I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to. They're just going to. Devin Williams is the closer until Luke Weaver is back. That's just what's going to happen. I myself, I think, would rather have them look at Fernando Cruz being the closer or some sort of closer by committee until Weaver's back, with Cruz kind of getting a majority of the nods. It's just like Devin Williams, he got the job done tonight. Credit to him. But I just feel like it's always like you're ripping your teeth out whenever he comes in, and you just like everybody in the stadium is like, oh my God. And then he lets the first guy on, he walks him, gives up a base hit, whatever, hits the guy. And I just feel like the stadium is just like, oh, here we go. And that just kind of gets in his mind. I just think that he thinks about that. I don't know. It's a body language. I'm not on the field with him, obviously, but just like watching the game, body language wise, it just comes off that way.
Yeah. Frankie says he has more belts than Devin Williams. What does that tell you? Frankie with the belt last night for helping us out while I was without internet. I am in Frankie's debt. Yankee Basher says Loizaga for closer. You know, Loizaga has not looked great. I mean, he's been okay, but he had trouble against the Dodgers. I guess. I mean, I'm sure they'll try it at some point. I don't know if they want to lean into that yet, but I have no problem if they sent him out to close a game. Like, I feel pretty comfortable with him right now. He had a scoreless inning tonight, did allow a hit. But, yeah, I mean, Fernando Cruz is a guy that has great stuff, but I don't want him closing either because he loses the strike zone too much. I kind of like him where he's at. So I guess, I mean, you're just kind of stuck with Williams or Mark Leiter until Dreamweaver gets back. But get well soon. Speaking of getting well soon, Giancarlo Stanton is going to be on a rehab assignment. We're going to have him probably in that road trip, KC and Boston. Man, I can't wait to see him hit in Boston. So we've been talking about this for months now. What are the Yankees going to do? And it's time for our final prediction. How do you think they're going to handle the Stanton, Rice, Goldschmidt, the three-body problem?
Yes, it is definitely a problem. Now, they're going to definitely have to be creative. One thing you could look into is that I would say that Austin Wells has been disappointing this year. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he's had the offensive year that you and I thought, and Frankie can give us what our over-unders were on that, but he's been disappointing. So I think maybe Rice catch a game like once a week just to get at least like 4 extra at-bats like that. I would think that they'll maybe try to do this sort of like platoon situation, but Stanton's going to need like a lot of at-bats for him to kind of get back in there. He's terrible as a pinch hitter in his career. History has shown us that. You can look up the stats, but I think for this is Rice may have to catch a few games or play first a couple games. And like you said, Goldschmidt's kind of slumping. So it's going to be kind of who has the hot hands. I was over 19.5 homers for Wells. Yeah, Derek, you were under. That's what Frankie just put up there. So he's been kind of disappointing. So I think maybe Rice catching would be interesting just to give him some extra at-bats.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that too. I think this is kind of what they're going to try and figure out. So he's been playing about 4 or 5 times a week as it is. Like, he still gets a couple of days off a week. So I think they're going to try and maintain that. But I think Wells is going to lose some at-bats. I think Goldschmidt's going to lose some at-bats. I think during the heat of the summer, they're going to use the excuse of, well, he's 37 years old. He's slowed down a little bit. Let's get him some rest. Let's get Austin Wells some rest during the heat of the summer. But Austin Wells has been swinging the bat a little bit better lately. So I think you'll see Rice probably 1 day a week at each of those spots, catching and first base. And then I think you'll see him continue to DH a couple of times a week, and you'll see Stanton play about 5 times a week, maybe 4 times in a week, in a week where they have 6, games. And you'll see him get pinch hit at bats in the games where he doesn't start. So let's say there's a lefty pitching, right? And you go with Stanton at DH, and you got Goldschmidt at first base. 7th inning rolls around, okay? And they bring in a sidearm pitcher to face Stanton. You go to Rice. I mean, I think they will pinch hit for Stanton against certain pitchers. I think at this point in his career, it's not an insult. It's just like facts are what they are. Rice hits righties better than Stanton does. So in a tough situation, a big spot, maybe not with the game on the line. They probably wouldn't want to disrespect Stanton like that. But I can see a situation where it's like maybe the 7th inning, they want to use the excuse, well, let's get Stanton off his feet a little bit. I think that's kind of what they're going to do. But I think for the most part, your DH is going to be Giancarlo Stanton against lefties. It's going to be Ben Rice a couple of days against righties, and then he'll be first base and catcher a couple of other days. That's kind of how I think that they're going to figure it out. And then, what's interesting, and this has got to be just for fun, Goldschmidt was taking ground balls at second base. Did you see that?
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. That's it's just funny to kind of throw that out there, yeah. Yeah.
Nothing burger. All right.
Yeah.
So a few more things to get through. So Carlos Rodon and Max Fried. I mean, I think they're the best 1-2 punch in the American League this year. Do you concur? I mean, is this our Schilling and Johnson duo?
Right now that is the case. I don't think there's anybody that I can think of that's healthy that is approximating that. If I'm going to say everyone's healthy, the only other teams I could think that maybe would be competitive with that is Seattle, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby. That's a pretty nice 1-2 there. Trying to think of who, I guess in Detroit you have Tarek Skubal and Jack Flaherty. That would be a pretty nice one too. But I think just in terms of health and what the season has shown us so far, Fried and Rodon are kind of one, and there's a lot of room until you get to number 2 there. But those would be the only 2 that I throw out there as possible other choices.
Yeah. Well, looking good so far. DJ LeMahieu, since coming back, I mentioned it earlier. I mean, even though he had that 4-hit game, he's had a couple of knocks. Tonight he was 1 for 3, but 620 OPS, 236 average. To me, he just seems like a very below average hitter at this point in his career. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not overly impressed with him. I think the Yankees are just kind of hoping they can squeeze a little bit more out of him. So he's got this year and next year. Next year would be the final year of his contract at $15 million a year. So I don't even know if he'll be on the team. They might just DFA him in the offseason and eat that last year, man. Honestly.
So you know how I like to talk about when the calculus for things changes. Here,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this at you. Corbin Burns just went out with Tommy John. He is done for the year. They're talking about trading Zach Gallen. They've got Merrill Kelly possibly getting dealt. If the D-backs decide to unload and break it down, Ketel Marte for second base.
Ooh, oh man, that would be really nice. I've wanted Ketel Marte for a long time, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He would command a lot. I got to look up what his contract is right now. I'm
You
gonna
get his
look that up.
contract. I'll get his baseball reference or his baseball
Yeah,
savant.
but that would be a really nice fit, and you'd have Jazz just stay at third, switch hitter at second. I mean, yeah, how could you not? How could you not love that? I
Wow.
just think that it would commit. Yeah, look at that. Ketel Marte right now, he's on a 7-year, $116 million deal. So he's got 14
Bargain.
this year, 15 next year, and then 12 in 2027. And then he makes 20, 22, 22, and 11.5. So he's really not making that much. And you have him under control for a long time. So if the Diamondbacks are really wanting to unload, that would be I guess a larger contract they want to unload. So yeah, there are deferrals until the back end of the contract, but so he's going to be 32 soon. So he's got 8 years of service time. So he's 31. Okay, so he's 31 right now. He'll be 32 next year. That'd be a really nice fit. I just don't know what the Diamondbacks would want in return.
I mean, he is their franchise player, and he's on a cheap deal, so it's unlikely. But I'm just throwing it out there. We're having fun. It is a podcast, after all. So right now, it looks like the Yankees are going to cruise in the American League East. I can't see anybody catching them. I mean, the Rays are 5.5 back. Red Sox now 10.5 back after tonight. I don't think the Rays have what it takes to overcome the Yankees. The Blue Jays don't scare me in the least. They're 6 games back. So that really just leaves, like, who else in the American League could knock us out? I mean, in the AL Central, the Tigers are off to a great start, 42-23. They took 2 out of 3 from us. The Astros have overtaken the Mariners out west. Yankees don't play them until August, and then they play them again in September. And the Mariners are falling off like they typically do. But I think the Yankees and the Tigers are the ALCS matchup right now. I mean, I think that's what we're looking at, assuming that there's no upsets in the earlier rounds. But right now, I mean, I think you got to figure out a way to, to match up with them and overcome, what they have. Now, they do have Tariq Skubal, who is probably going to win another Cy Young. I mean, he's unbelievable. You just got to hope that he wears out, that they ride him into the dirt, and that he's tired by the time playoffs come around.
Yeah, I would say Detroit is the only team. So they're 42-23 right now. Yankees are 39-23. And then the Rays are 5.5 games back. The Rays, I kind of think the Rays are just this. They're always there. I'm not totally throwing them away. I don't see them as a legitimate threat as of now, obviously, but they're always going to kind of linger, I think, and they're always going to be a pain in the ass. But yeah, Detroit is really the only team in the American League that really scares me. Houston being 35-28, do they bounce back this season? Just if you see them in the playoffs, whether it's in the DS or the CS, I don't know if that kind of Minute Maid has been a house of horrors for us in October. I don't know if that kind of comes back mentally. I know
it would be nice to knock them out. Not a lot of players on the team now, but that would still, like, the fans would love it. Fans would love it
so much.
All right, so quick word from our friends at Foul Territory about Arena Club, and then we'll be back with some final comments from the chat and to wrap things up after the Yankees take Game 1 of the series. Back in 60 seconds.
FT fan, by now, if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting. How the graphics come out and everything. And, oh, yeah, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place, and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell it back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. arenaclub.com/foul, use code FOUL.
All right, and a reminder to check out NYYDesigns.shop. It's part of the way that we fund this whole podcast. Got all sorts of Yankees merch, hats, mugs, hoodies, T-shirts, all that good stuff. TK, any closing thoughts tonight? I'm going to go through the comments here and put some good ones on the screen.
I would say I'm looking at the standings right now, and it's kind of wild to me that the Yankees are actually one game better than the Dodgers. So if you I think if you told everyone that back in February, I think everyone would be surprised by that. And the most surprising is Detroit, the best team in baseball, 42-23. The only thing that annoys me, Derek, is I look at the record, 39-23 for the Yankees, and I'm like, those 5 games, man. There's 5 games that they would win. They'd have 44 wins right now, and they'd be the best team in baseball. But that's baseball, Susan. Works out that way sometimes. So maybe they'll steal a couple.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm feeling pretty good about the start that the Yankees got off to without Garrett Cole. If you had asked me the morning after Garrett Cole went down if the Yankees would be 5.5 games up on June 6th and they would have they would be 16 games over 500, I would have said not a chance in hell. But hey, look, they've played well. Got to give a big shout out to Plan B, Goldschmidt, Fried, Bellinger, all pulling their weight, all staying healthy, everybody on the field. And, we've seen development from some young guys. Volpe's having a little bit better year than he had. Not a huge improvement, but enough of improvement to make a little bit of a difference. Let's hope he gets better soon. The Martian has had some big moments. We got the walk-off, and Jazz now heating back up. Hopefully he can be a very consistent player for us down the stretch. TK, thanks so much for joining. Everybody, please like and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, not we. I don't know what the hell TK is going to be doing. Mr. Hollywood star here going to 8 auditions this week. We're going to be seeing him on Netflix here at some point. But tomorrow I'll be back probably before and after the game. Might do a little pregame voicemail show. So call in 718-899-1068. If we get enough voicemails, we will do a brief voicemail show. And to make up for some of the time that I was out with, my internet was down, I want to make it up to you guys. And then, obviously, post-game show the next couple of nights. So, until then, hasta la vista, baby. If you made it this far, do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and join our community. You can also be a part of the show by calling in at 718-899-1068. Also, part of the way that we maintain and fund all of this is through NYYDesigns.shop. Check it out now. Get all sorts of fun Yankees merch, hats, hoodies, zip-ups, beanies, mugs, you name it. We've got it. Check it out, NYYDesigns.shop. And check out Pinstripe Territory on all your favorite podcast platforms. We are the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. We're here for post-game shows after every single game, and we're here before a lot of games to talk about the game, preview the lineup, the pitching matchups, and things like that. And we're here all off-season to talk about the latest in Yankees rumors, news, etc. Join our community. We'll see you next time.